Did I Make You Cry on Christmas Day?
Hello and welcome to Basic AF, a mostly tech podcast. Tom Anderson, Jeff Battersby gathered around the fireplace sipping eggnog. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, we understand there's two possibilities here. You're either traveling to the in-laws' house, listening to us on a nice Christmas afternoon or evening or morning, as the case may be. You're sitting out around the fire drinking eggnog, as Tom says, or you're in the kitchen cooking a meal for everybody that's going to come over and, looking for some kind of relief. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the other things that you're supposed to say this time of year. Hanukkah we were in the middle of Hanukkah in the last episode, so we didn't say that. So we'll say it now.
We will.
Happy Hanukkah, and I hope you're all, doing what you do. Diwali's passed. That was a few weeks ago. And, we're trying to hit every
we try. It's a long list.
It's a demographic.
We're not the smartest guys, so it's hard for us to keep track of it. So.
Yeah, right. I don't even know.
No slight intended. It's just we're not too smart.
Right.
So.
We're just idiots.
Yeah, outside of talking about tech here and there, we're not good for much.
Yeah, we might not even be good at that.
That is still debatable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. As always, we do appreciate it. So as we are wrapping up the year, Jeff and I thought it would be fun to kind of go back and look at some of the things we've acquired, some new stuff we've gathered over the year, and talk about the things that we like and possibly even recommend.
Yeah, I would say that that's a good way to go, which means we'll make this short and sweet. We're not going to go, no big announcements, no big news that we need to talk about as we
you don't want to do a marathon show for Christmas? You got other things to do? Is that what you're telling me?
Tom.
Only
chestnuts
slightly.
roasting on an open fire and all that jazz.
Yeah. All right. Well,
hey, I'm going to make a big recommend right out of the top of
let's go.
Top of the show, though. Yeah, and since we're, everybody, hopefully you're listening to this on Christmas Day, as one does. I'm going to make a recommendation for my favorite Christmas music. I almost cannot listen to anything else this time of year. If you're familiar with, and if you're not, you can easily find this on all your streaming music apps. But Sufjan Stevens Christmas music. He a few years ago did like a five album box set, of Christmas music. He's done a couple others since. It is appropriately melancholy for the season. It's really brilliant music, and as it turns out, it is the music that makes me feel most in the season. So highly recommend that. That's my first recommendation, Tom. You can spin out the rest of this day listening to Sufjan Stevens. That's Sufjan Stevens, and I highly recommend his Christmas music. One of my faves. You'll get some traditional stuff in there, and you'll get some very untraditional stuff like Did I Make You Cry on Christmas Day?
Okay, now it's all coming together. I can see why. All right.
Yeah, you've found my sweet spot. Another one of my favorites is That Was the Worst Christmas Ever. And they're not comedy tunes. I'm going to break it to you. They're not comedy tunes.
Oh no,
they're very good. They reach right in and grab me where I live this time of year. So
right,
anyway, that's my first recommendation, Tom.
My first is also related to music, Jeff. It's something that you've talked about several times on this very podcast, Radio Paradise.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, you brought this up well before we even were doing a podcast, even. Because,
correct.
We've got a long history, and I know we've talked about it before on numerous occasions. And, recently I was like, I'd like to listen to something different that, don't really feel like choosing a playlist. And, because we've talked about that too. It's like, I never listen to albums. It's always playlists. And so I was like, oh yeah, Jeff talks about this a lot. Let me check it out. And so I did. And it is, as you said, you were true to your word. It is fantastic.
I'm not a liar.
At least on that. So, holiday cheer here, friends.
Yoo-hoo! Yeah, we're friendly.
Yeah, told you we were sipping stuff, but
There you go.
but no, it really is great. I can just play it and it just goes. It's a nice variety of
Did you download the
music.
app?
I did. Yeah, put it on the iPad,
Okay.
AirPlay it to the HomePods.
Yeah,
by where my desk is.
Here's true story. So back in the day when we first met, when I was had you as a student in an Apple certification class, I was playing Radio Paradise then because I would play music, in the in betweens when people were doing, whatever it is that they were doing. I would kick off some music, and so kicked off Radio Paradise there. They have since there are several different streams that they run now. So there's their main mix, which is what I typically listen to, but they have several other mixes that they have going, and it's phenomenal. Never the same thing twice. Back in the days when I was buying CDs, they cost me a lot of money because they would play stuff that I had never heard before that was right in my sweet spot. But you'll in a given section, you'll go from classical to jazz to some kind of indie rock band, all within a matter of 3 songs, all truly well put together. So this is actually Radio Paradise is a DJ'd internet radio station. So it's not algorithmic. It's real human beings stitching those songs together, and it makes a difference. It really is. It really is a thoughtfully curated set of music. You can go back and see the history of what they did, and they have that on their website. So highly recommend. I listen to it all the time.
And you touched there just on the variety and the different genres and things like that. And even back in the 90s when I was working at the little radio station in West Virginia, a friend of mine that I met there and ended up becoming a lifelong friend, he and I always had discussions of, why are radio stations so locked into a single format?
Yeah.
And even so back then, that was something that, we had the idea for was good music's good music. Just play it. Play it all. Right.
Right.
And I get, commercial radio was what it was. But back then, what I liked about working there was it was similar to this in that there was kind of a guideline where you would play like 3 or 5 currents, which were the new songs, right? An hour. But the rest of it, we got to pick. So there wasn't a playlist per se. And so that's why I really liked working there and people really liked the station, even though it was in a small town, was that you did get that variety of stuff because the playlist wasn't so rigid. And I think that's why I've kind of taken to this is that it just has that same feel to it where it's more organic, natural, not, oh, look, here's, I don't know.
Top 40.
Here's
America's
Taylor Swift
top
for the
40.
50th time today.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad that you finally got into my not so subliminal messaging. Pretty on the nose. And I will say I support those guys. So I send them money a couple times a year.
I may end up doing that too.
Yeah. I listen to them. I do shuffle the music in my library, which is something that one of my brothers told me he did. So I started doing that. And it's funny, I discover music I forgot I had. I also discover crap that I probably need to delete, but that's another story. Back from the days when I was reviewing music for a small little magazine. I've got a bunch of stuff that probably doesn't need to be there. But I do send Radio Paradise, some money a couple times a year when they have their little appeals, just to support them, because it is my go-to radio station when I'm writing during the day. 9 times out of 10, I kick on Radio Paradise, and that's what I'm listening to as I play. As I write, I listen to that. So yeah,
right. Excellent, highly recommended. So Jeff, what do you have next?
So we talked about this. You talked about it in the last show, Tom, but the Astropad, Astropad's rock paper pencil. As I said in the last show when we were talking about that, this is a little screen cover that you put on top of your iPad. It uses magnets, so easy to remove. I keep the sleeve in my backpack just in case I don't want to bend up the screen protector. But it's not so much a screen protector for me as it is a means of making it easier for me to write on the iPad. I have mentioned on several occasions that my handwriting stinks, and because of the resistance provided by this particular screen protector and the metal tips that it has, and I haven't actually tried it with the standard Apple tips. I should give that a go and see if it works or it doesn't work. But all that to say, it has now become my newest tool for editing any kind of long form writing that I'm doing. I typically write and then rewrite have done in the past on paper, and then put those edits in and continue writing and then print it back out again and go through, it's this whole process where was literally using reams of paper on in a given month. I mean, I have underneath the big printer desk, I have 2 full reams sitting there. So that'll give you some indication of how much paper I was going through, which not great. I am now doing all of my editing using the rock, paper, pencil tool, all of it in a PDF. I'm writing my notes. It looks exactly the same as it did on the paper. And I've got the ability to scroll through that, do those edits, and keep an archive of everything that I'm writing in PDF form. So I highly recommend that. I'm really, really happy with it. I came upon the idea to use it more permanently quite by accident. And I'm glad I had that opportunity. Like I said, I was visiting my mother in California, who was, she was having surgery. And so I was hanging out with her and didn't want to waste her paper. So decided to give it a go, and it worked brilliantly. So highly recommend. About $40, about a 10-week wait until you get it.
Yeah, it does take a while. Yeah.
But worth the wait, at least for me.
Yeah, I've had mine a couple of weeks. Like you talked about it back in episode 21. So I ordered one, and it took about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I have no idea why it takes so long. And again, it wasn't an urgent thing, but it kind of felt like we were back in 1982. Order, please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. I was like, okay. But it did arrive, and it, we talked last episode, so I've only had it a couple of weeks, but I do think I'm going to pick up another one because I've got a 12.9-inch iPad at the office that I like to, we've talked some about this too, but I like to, when I'm really trying to do some deep thinking on a topic, I like to sketch it out, draw it. And the thing I like about the iPad versus paper is I can lay something out and then I can move it, right? So you get more flexibility with it. So I think I'm going to get another one for that because I do really like it. They do give you 4 tips now. I think you said previous episode you got 2.
When I got mine, yeah.
Yeah. So that I guess they wear down. And I haven't looked to see how much, like if you go through all 2 or 4, depending on what you buy or what you get, like what a replacement set would be if you eventually need another one. But I mean, I imagine that would be seems like that would take a lot of writing to do that. And as much as I like it, I don't do a lot of handwriting, so those should last me quite a while.
Yeah, and I think maybe by the time our next episode kicks around, I will have tried using just the standard tip and see how that works. I've got a feeling because I think it's a little rubberier. That tip, it may end up being too resistant, so it may make it more difficult to write. So we'll see.
I feel like that one would probably wear down quicker too. Yeah,
good chance because of the grittiness, the paper-like quality of the.
It is.
Rock paper. It really
it's quite
does.
nice.
It feels exactly like I'd want it to feel.
And I think I mentioned in the previous episode that the thing that really drew me to it was that it attaches magnetically and it's not an adhesive. So it's easy. If you don't want it there, you can just take it right off.
Yeah, and that's an important point to make. It does, so it cuts down on reflection because it's not a reflective surface. It's got a little.
It's almost like a nano texture display for the iPad.
My goodness, it's like that. Is exactly right,
but not really.
And I don't think I see nano texture coming to an iPad anytime soon. Having
could you imagine how much that would be?
Oh, geez. But where were they going? Oh, good God, where was that? Oh, no. So you can easily take it off, I think is the point, because it does block some of the colors out. So if you're watching, a movie on your iPad, you may want to pull it off. But for the most part, even that's fine.
Right. Yeah. So highly recommend that one. Up next for me is a note-taking app. So I was an Evernote user for a long, long, long time, starting in 2008. I used to take all my notes in paper when I was working and have these hardback journals of sorts.
Sure.
And I still have them. Funny, I found one not long ago. This was back in my AOL days, back in the mid 2000s. And so I'd fill one up and I'd buy a new one and, just mark them by year or whatever it was. So Evernote came out and I was like, man, this is great. It's got great search, has an excellent web clipper, so I can grab stuff from the web, dump it into there. And it was good for quite a while. Then they've kind of became not so great. But I kept using it for a long time just because, that's what I used. So a couple of years ago, I moved to Craft, which is I'd say
also quite nice.
It is very nice.
We both
were there, right? Yeah. And it was, and still is, quite nice. Now, when they came out, they were heading down this path that was almost going to be along the lines of a Roam or Notion / now Obsidian's the big one that's out for this personal knowledge management PKM stuff, which I'm not really into that very deep. So that wasn't a big thing for me, but it had nice backlinking and you could embed stuff pretty easily. So I used that for a while. What I found with that, for some things, so it's a block-based editor. So each section is a block, and you get I did really like the / commands in it because that really sped things up. But I found they started to change direction. Because they were a startup, and then they got some big investments, and so they have moved into kind of the business arena. So they're doing a lot of collaborative features, sharing teams, things like that. Yeah. And I'm not knocking them for it. That's, there's a lot of money there.
Probably real money then.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they started kind of going that direction. And I had tried Bear some years ago. And the thing that really kept me from it was that it's a markdown editor, basically.
Yes.
But the previous version didn't really have an option, as I recall, to hide the markdown formatting. And that annoyed me, just looked messy. So Bear 2.0 came out, and they have corrected all of that. And so I have moved back to that. And the thing I like about it is it's reasonably priced. It is a subscription, but it's like $2 a month, $2.50.
No, that's actually decent subscription price.
It is, and that's for the Pro feature. The other thing I like about it is there are no third-party servers involved. It uses iCloud. So
I love that, by the way.
So it's my data, doesn't go anywhere. It does sync. So when you get the Pro, you get the syncing through iCloud Sync. So I've got it on iPad, phone, MacBook, Mac Mini. Has plenty of features, formatting options. The other thing that I like about it, well, it's very, I'll say it's a peaceful app, which sounds kind of weird, but there's not a lot of interface friction to it. It's very clean, doesn't get in the way. The typography that it comes with by default is beautiful. It's got theming. You can do a bunch of different font options and everything. But what I really like about it is it exports out into multiple formats.
And that's huge, isn't it?
It is. And that's why, we've talked about Apple Notes, which is a great app.
Yeah.
They've added a lot of nice features to it, but it's pretty locked in. And so Bear exports to Markdown, Word docs, text bundles, which seems to really be a great way to do it because it keeps all your imaging and everything in there as well. So we can do a Notes app showdown show at some point. Maybe I don't want to make this show that, but really nice. Do highly recommend checking it out. They do have a free version if you want to kick the tires for a while. It's got a web clipper. It's not an Evernote type web clipper, so it's not it's quite that nice, but you can, drop things into Notes pretty easily for research or if you want to just hold on to something.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I can see, I was checking the App Store while you were talking, and I think at some point a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I must have purchased or downloaded it in some way, because I do have that. So
Okay.
I might have to take another look. Although I'm a fan of Apple's Notes, I use that pretty much. I used it at 2 a.m. today. Probably not the best choice, because it's.
Just finishing
I tried to
putting
get
up those,
Siri to do
putting
it.
those presents under the tree. Like, let me take a note.
Yeah, exactly that. Speaking of notes, Tom, I'm going to go to a physical thing again.
Okay.
So I started with the physical rock, paper, pencil. I'm going to recommend Field Notes brand. Field Notes is a company based out of Chicago. They make gorgeous notebooks. You can subscribe, which I do. More notebooks than I'll possibly be able to use in a lifetime. It's going to be, we bury this guy, and he's like, what is he doing? He's got like 500 notebooks.
Back in the old days, people collected crock pots. You collect notebooks.
Yeah, right. I kind of do. That's a fair thing. But one of the things that I really like about Field Notes brand, and you can find them. Let me just get the URL here real quick. You can find them at fieldnotesbrand.com is what I believe it is. fieldnotesbrand.com. They have a regular subscription quarterly. They send out special versions of all their notebooks. But I'm a huge fan of their pitch black notebook. Which is a larger format. Most of these Field Notes brand notebooks are kind of small, fit in your chest pocket. That size notebook. The pitch black notebook is a larger format that I use regularly, either for when I'm working or doing stuff on shows. When I'm like, for example, right now I'm in the middle of stage managing an Oscar Wilde play, and I will keep notes in that in addition to other things that I do. But it's a notebook, super high quality, super great company, and they do some other fun things too. You can get a bunch of other stuff, but Field Notes brand notebooks, highly recommend. And that has been a regular part of my life. Their notebooks. I don't buy any other notebooks at this point in time. That's where I get my notebooks from. Often give them as gifts. That's how much I like them. So highly recommend Field Notes brand.
Very good. There you go. All right. So next for me is something not new, but new to me.
Okay.
That I highly recommend, and you're going to chuckle. CarPlay.
Dude, I'm not going to chuckle. I'm going to smile and say, yes, I'm with you.
So my previous car was a 2016, did not have CarPlay. I've wanted CarPlay for ages now. And so picked up a new car earlier this year. Of course, it had it in it. And I will say it's pretty daggone good.
It's amazing.
Ain't perfect, which is fine. Not many things are.
Except for you, Tom.
No, far from that. But it... really, really happy with it. I do wish there were some more third-party apps that could take advantage of it.
Yes.
You mentioned, I think, last episode.
Right. One of them.
Right, because, depending on which view you have set up, and you can do like that dashboard view where it's got a big app, which is usually like a navigation thing on the left, and then you got a couple along the right-hand side. Yep. So like it'll show your next appointment, and if you're leaving, it'll bring it up on a map if it's somewhere you're supposed to go to. But yeah, I know a lot of people listening are probably like, well, Tom, welcome to 2020. Yeah, thanks. But it is new for me, and I just wanted to give it a shot. We don't have to dig too much into it because it's been around forever. But
no, you don't. And I'm with you. And while we're talking about that, I just want to say, a lot of people use it, Waze or Google Maps for navigation, but Apple got a lot of grief when they first came out with Apple Maps. That grief is not well placed now. Apple Maps, I find, since we're talking about CarPlay, works brilliantly. I'm really happy.
Yeah, my biggest pet peeve with
including some of the features that. I'm sorry, say it again.
No, go ahead and finish up, and then I'll come back.
I was going to say, including some of the features that made Waze good. I used Waze for a long time until Google bought them. And then, you know me, Google buys it, I say goodbye. But as far as like rerouting you, if there are bad traffic issues, making those recommendations, being able to mark out, I don't think you can mark out if there. No, you can. Like if there are police sitting on the side of the highway.
Yeah, they added that
stuff. All of that stuff is now built into Apple Maps.
Find Waze is more active just because there are more people use it. But
yeah, right. Well, you'll see other people on there, right?
Right, especially for the police reported ahead.
Yeah, cool.
But the thing, my biggest pet peeve with Apple Maps with CarPlay is if you're not going somewhere, and say you've got just that dashboard kind of view up where you got maps in the left and then your music app on the right and whatever the other ones are, it doesn't show the speed limit if you're not in an actual navigation session, and it drives me nuts. Like Waze does it, so I usually, when I'm driving around town, I don't need that, but if I'm in a place I'm not familiar with, I'd just like to see it, just be like, and obviously they're on the road, but they're spaced out every couple of miles, and so
I feel overall, that. I will say my
happy.
car does that, so. Like,
right.
I get that. That. And this another thing, when I mentioned there are a lot of new features. I have a heads-up display in this car too.
Yeah, but that seems so easy to add. Like the app does it. I don't know why they just don't.
Right, it
turn
should
it on,
be there.
Which goes back. I complain to you a lot that sometimes I wonder how much Apple uses their own stuff because it's like this is like a very simple thing. Just put it there. It's not going to hurt anything. Just put it there.
Well, when you have a driver taking you from one place to the other, why do you need to pay attention?
True. Yeah. Well, they're all in their Teslas. They don't care about the little people. All right. What do you have next, my friend?
The next thing for me, I talked about this app a ton, is Highland Pro, which is my everyday writing app. That's the one that I write in. I write every single day. And that is the application that I recommend. It is super lo-fi in terms of what it does. So you're not going to get a bunch of options as far as, buttons to click to be able to format your page a little better and do all that kind of stuff. I do not write in Word. I have it. I occasionally use Pages for page layout and things like that. But when I'm doing everyday writing, I'm using Highland Pro. And the Highland Pro, as you mentioned with Bear, is a Markdown-based application. So everything's in Markdown, but you can use the usual key commands. So Command B, to bold text. If you want to do that, it puts in the Markdown for that. It's a plain text editor, not proprietary, but it provides a number of different templates. So if you're writing a novel or writing a screenplay, or you're doing a paper for school or whatever it is, it uses a template to take care of that. But you're always writing in very clean, plain text. So when you go to print it, it comes out, or export it, it comes out in the way that you expect it to, particular format. But when you're writing, you're just writing text. So it really easy to use, truly my favorite writing app. And I have tested over many years a variety of different apps, but this is the one I've landed on. I've been using this since almost the first version came out, which has got to be at least 7 years ago at this point in time.
Nice.
So highly recommend Highland Pro.
Do love stability with tools.
It makes a huge difference.
As I
You
say
just like to be able
15 minutes ago, how I jump around from Notes apps, but hey.
Yeah, well, you're a child in some ways.
It's research.
Right, exactly.
Have they come out with their iPad? I know you said they had an iOS or iPad app.
No, it's still in beta.
Okay.
And it's still in the same version of beta. I don't know exactly where that is or what it's going to do. This is an app developed by, not directly by, but John August, who has written movies that like Big Fish. I don't know. Have you seen Big Fish? You have a look on your face like you've never seen Big Fish, dude. You have to see that movie.
I might have. I don't know.
He developed this to be able to get away from really expensive screenwriting software.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original intent. So it's really smart about screenplays and stage plays and graphic novels. It's really very capable when it comes to those kinds of things. I have a feeling that while the writers and SAG-AFTRA were on strike that maybe some of the money that he's using to develop this is coming from, his day job, which is, writing for television and writing novels. That may be part of the reason why there was a little hang up, or has been a little hang up on the iPad app. So I have not gotten it yet. I'm hoping it comes, because that'd be a nice little tool to have in my pocket.
Yep. Okay. So my next, and this is the last one I have.
Yep. And I have one more, and that's me too.
Okay. So we have talked about this a bunch for iPhone, which is the Photo Shuffle wallpaper.
Dude.
And so in iPad OS 17, it came to iPad, so I set it up, and I think I like it even more there. It has been fantastic on the iPhone, as we've talked about. So if you're not familiar with it, it is one of the custom wallpaper / lock screen settings that we picked up in iOS 16 for iPhone. We can go in, set up a photo shuffle, and that is exactly what it says on the label. It will shuffle through photos, but in a pretty intelligent manner, that you do get to choose the options that you want from people, landscape, pets. There's one more. I don't remember what it is. Cities, I think it is. But it does some intelligent kind of machine learning stuff with the photos, where it's able to kind of figure out the focus of the picture. So whether that's your dog, your child, your, a landscape, whatever it is. And it's just really nice. And it has been fantastic, as we have talked about, for discovering photos that we've taken of places, the kids, the goofy dogs we have. And just to see those resurface. Like, I've sent so many screenshots of our kids when they were little to my mom, who just loves it. She has a setup on her phone, and so she adds them to hers. But it is fantastic on both the phone, and now it's on the iPad.
Yeah, it's funny. The only thing that I've used on the iPad so far is the live photos feature, which I love as well. I've got a waterfall picture on there. I have not tried the photo shuffle, which I think after we finish recording here and I throw the roast in the oven, then that's gorgeous. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
so,
I think
quite nice.
I might fling that on there. Cool. All right. Last thing for me. As everybody knows, because I've complained about it endlessly, I got all my stuff stolen.
Yes, you did. Most expensive burger stop ever.
Yeah, right. It was a good burger, though, which I couldn't eat anymore. It was like, okay, I think I'll have a couple of fries and I'm going to throw everything else in the garbage. But one of the things that came out of that is I had an M1 MacBook Pro. I ended up getting an M2 on the heels of that. And I got to say, I really, really love this computer. It's possible I would have ended up getting a MacBook Air had the new MacBook Air been available at the time that these guys copped my stuff. But I am supremely pleased with this M3 Mac. And by the way, I unintentionally, but I ended up buying a lot of stuff this past year, including the studio display, which I really like. It's a pain in the neck to clean with the nano technology. Because I did that nanotechnology, because of where my computer is placed in my office. I have a window behind me, so it really cuts back on eye fatigue. But my everyday computer is that MacBook Pro, and I'm really thrilled with it. It's fast. It's way beefier than I'll ever need in the future. Can't get one of those now. You can get an M3, but the truth of the matter is Apple has done a really fine job on these computers. And always, and I think the beauty of it is, and you and I complain back and forth about various things from time to time, but the bottom line is it's consistently good, and I don't have to think about it when I'm using it. I set it down, I do my work, and it's amazing. It really is amazing.
Yeah, that transition to Apple Silicon from Intel has been such a great bit of progress there for their laptops, because the previous generations, especially those with the touch bar and everything, we had a bunch of those at work, and we won't get into the keyboard stuff, but because the keyboards are problematic for a long time, but they've long since fixed that. But just the performance versus power consumption, I mean, it's excellent. I mean, it's great. They last forever. It's funny though, they've kind of changed it, because if you recall, when they were on the Intel systems, some people were starting to use that 12.9-inch iPad because it had fantastic battery life. I get 10 hours out of this.
Yeah.
And now that's flipped, because the MacBooks are getting 14, 15, MacBook Air things up around 20, depending on what you're doing sometimes. And people are saying, well, how come the iPad Pros don't have 18-hour battery life now? And we didn't get any iPads this year from Apple. So I think maybe, we'll definitely get some new iPads in 2024, but hopefully some battery life that's more in line with the MacBooks.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, they're not as thick, so you can't get, I don't think you'll get 1-to-1, but if you could get 12 to 14, a good 20% bump or something, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, Jeff, that is a wrap.
It is. It's been a good year, Tom.
It has.
And we appreciate everybody that has taken the time to listen to us. Hopefully you're enjoying the new shorter format. I think everybody is,
Me
including
too.
us.
Yes. No, I have gotten good feedback on that, and I think that's good. And we always do welcome you, any type of feedback that you have.
Yeah, feedback at basicafshow.com. Tom's on various platforms.
Yeah, they're all in the show notes. Just take a look.
Yeah, you can look at the show notes. This is exactly right. Our music by the amazing Psychokinetics, and we appreciate that. Randall Martin Design for show logo, who, as far as I'm concerned, we stand out.
We do.
When it comes to logos. I think it's one of the best podcast logos, most eye-catching podcast logos. Probably, you might go blind to looking at the two goofballs that are in there, because those guys do look a lot like us.
Yes, they do.
But we really, thanks so much for spending time with us this year, and we'll see you after the new year. Now go spend time with your families.
Exactly. What he said. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you in 2024.
See ya.
I don't want to know about your imperfections, dude. Prefer to leave